Welcome back, everyone. We're diving into something a little different today, the idea of living without regrets. We're going to be taking a look at an article called Living Without Regrets. It's by Frederick Osei-Manu, and he's an author and speaker who focuses on self-improvement and life lessons.
Oh, I like him already. So, what's his take on navigating past choices and shaping a brighter future?
Well, he kicks things off with this quote by Steve Maraboli. "We all make mistakes, have struggles, and even regret things in our past. But you are not your mistakes."
Ooh, powerful stuff right out of the gate.
Yeah, and I think it really sets the stage for this idea of accepting our past without letting it define us. What do you think?
It's like we all have baggage, right? But we don't have to carry it forever.
Exactly. He seems to be all about shifting the focus from dwelling on yesterday to actually taking action today.
Absolutely. And he even says, yesterday is gone. Don't waste the chances that lie within today. Today is your day. Do something with it that will change your story for good. I mean, come on, that's a call to action.
It is. But how do we actually do that? How do we make that shift from regret to action? It's one thing to say it and another to actually, believe it.
Right. He does talk about encouraging yourself, saying life will get better. But I'm more curious about the concrete steps he suggests. Later on, he says, paint that picture, write that story, play that music, go after that job, go on that vacation.
Yeah. It's like a to-do list for a regret-free life.
Yeah.
But how do those actions actually connect back to letting go of the past? I mean, is it just about distracting ourselves with new activities?
It seems like he's saying that living without regrets isn't about reaching some perfect future state, but more about the journey.
Yeah, I think you're right. He says, love the life you have now while working towards all you want to become in the future. So finding that balance, right, between embracing the present and striving for more.
Yeah. How do we achieve that balance without feeling stuck? It's a tough one.
I think he's suggesting we look at what we've been putting off and take action. Instead of, I wish I did that and then doing nothing, it's more like, okay, what's one thing I can do today to move towards that?
I see. So turning those I wish statements into concrete goals. But everyone has dreams they've tucked away. For fear of failure or the unknown. How does he address that fear?
That's where I think his emphasis on self-compassion comes in. He reminds us that we're all human, we all make mistakes, and we can grow from them.
So it's about seeing mistakes as opportunities, not reasons to give up.
Exactly. Self-forgiveness is the first step towards a life with fewer regrets, for sure.
It's like he's shifting our mindset, right? From self-doubt and dwelling on the past to self-belief and taking action. But how practical is that? How do we actually change those thought patterns?
Well, that's where I think we need to dig a little deeper. His message is inspiring, but I'm curious to see if he offers any concrete strategies for building resilience in the face of setbacks.
Right. I agree. Because the path to a regret-free life, it's not always going to be smooth sailing.
No. Definitely not. So how do we develop the tools to handle those rough patches?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and one we should explore further. He gives a lot of inspiration and motivation, but I'm curious about the practical advice for, navigating the ups and downs.
Because it's one thing to say live without regrets, but it's another to actually know how to do that when faced with real challenges.
Absolutely. I think that's where the true value of his insights lies.
I agree. So let's dive into those practical aspects next and see what concrete strategies he offers for overcoming those mental hurdles.
Sounds good to me. I'm excited to see what he has to say about building resilience and unshakable self-belief. It seems like that's at the core of living a truly regret-free life.
Okay, so we've talked about self-compassion and resilience, but what about specific strategies for actually, cultivating these qualities? Does he give us any practical advice?
Yeah, actually, he does touch upon a few key strategies. One that really sticks out is this idea of reframing a relationship with failure, Instead of seeing it as this negative endpoint, he encourages us to view it as a stepping stone towards growth.
Oh, I like that.
Right.
But how do we actually make that mental shift?
Yeah.
It's easy to say, don't be afraid of failure, but it's harder to embrace it when it happens.
I think Osei-Manu would say that a big part of it is about changing our internal dialogue.
Yeah.
He talks about how we often say things like, I wish I did that, but then let fear or doubt hold us back. He wants us to replace those negative self-talk patterns with more positive and empowering ones.
So it's like catching ourselves when we spiral into those self-doubt moments and consciously choosing to reframe those thoughts.
Exactly.
Almost like training our minds to see setbacks as opportunities.
Yeah. It's recognizing that those negative thoughts are just the thoughts. They don't have to dictate our actions, And that's where I think mindfulness comes in.
Mindfulness. How does that tie into like overcoming regret and building resilience?
Well, he doesn't explicitly use the term mindfulness, but the concept is definitely there throughout the article.
Right.
Like when he talks about appreciating the present moment, you know, even while working towards future goals.
Right. He says, love the life you have now while working towards all you want to become in the future. Don't get so caught up in chasing your dreams that you forget to enjoy the journey.
Exactly. And that's like a key part of mindfulness, being present in the moment, savoring the good and acknowledging the difficult, you know, without letting it overwhelm us.
Yeah.
It's about finding that sweet spot, I think, between ambition and contentment.
Isn't there a risk of becoming complacent, though? If we focus too much on the present, won't we lose that drive to achieve our goals?
That's a good point. But I think Osei-Manu would say that true contentment actually fuels ambition. When we're grateful for what we have and we're like fully present in the moment, then we're more likely to feel inspired and motivated to create more good in our lives, you know?
So it's not about settling for less, but about recognizing the abundance that already exists and then using that as a springboard to pursue our dreams.
Yeah, it's about shifting that focus from what we lack to what we already have. And that shift in perspective can be so powerful when it comes to like overcoming regret and building resilience.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. But let's be honest, sometimes those negative thoughts, those feelings of regret, they can be pretty overwhelming. Are there any techniques he suggests for dealing with those moments when self-doubt kind of threatens to derail us?
He does have a few practical suggestions. For example, he talks about identifying those things we've been putting off, those dreams we've been too scared to chase, right? Like acknowledging those fears is the first step to overcoming them.
Face them head on instead of letting them, fester. What if those fears are really deeply rooted, though? Like, what if they stem from past experiences where we, really felt like we failed?
That's where self-compassion comes in again, Be kind to yourself. Recognize that we're all human and we're all going to make mistakes. It's about letting go of that need to be perfect.
Giving ourselves permission to stumble, to fall, without letting those setbacks define us.
Exactly. And that's where resilience is born. Through those experiences of falling down and getting back up, that's how we develop that strength and determination to keep moving forward, even when faced with challenges.
So instead of seeing mistakes as failures, we can see them as valuable learning experiences that make us stronger and wiser in the end.
Precisely. Osei-Manu seems to be saying that this shift in perspective is so essential for living a life without regrets. It's about embracing the journey, the good and the bad, and recognizing that every experience, positive and negative, can shape us into the amazing individuals we're meant to be.
Wow, that's a really nice way to frame it. It's not about avoiding mistakes, it's about learning from them and using them as fuel to propel us forward.
Exactly. And I think that's one of the most empowering takeaways from his article, It's not some magic formula, it's a framework for navigating life, in a way that minimizes regret and maximizes fulfillment.
So it's less about achieving some unattainable ideal and more about embracing the messy reality of being human with all its imperfections.
Absolutely. And that's what makes his message so relatable, so inspiring. He acknowledges the struggles, the setbacks, those moments of doubt and regret we all have.
And instead of running away from those difficult emotions, he wants us to lean into them.
Exactly.
Learn from them, use them as catalysts for growth.
I think that's what sets his approach apart from a lot of other self-help advice out there. It's not about denying our humanity or pretending life is always easy.
Right. It's about acknowledging, the full spectrum of human experience and finding ways to navigate it all with grace, with resilience, and with self-compassion.
Well said. That's a powerful message to carry with us, I think, as we continue to explore this concept.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I'm eager to see what other insights he offers for navigating life.
Me too. So let's dive back into his article, shall we? And see what other gems we can find.
Sounds good to me. Let's explore those practical strategies and mindset shifts that can help us create a life that's, true to ourselves and full of purpose and free from regret.
Let's do it.
Okay, so I've noticed this theme of balancing ambition with appreciating the present moment. He seems to be saying, don't get so caught up in your future goals that you miss the beauty of right now.
Yeah, he definitely emphasizes that. And it's easy to fall into that trap of thinking, I'll be happy when, when I achieve this, when I get that. But then you end up just constantly striving and never really feeling content.
Right. It's like putting your happiness on hold.
Exactly. Osei-Manu saying, you don't have to wait. Like, joy and fulfillment are available right now.
So how do we actually cultivate that present moment awareness without losing sight of our goals, I mean?
It's a balance, for sure. He suggests, taking those I wish statements and turning them into actions. So instead of, I wish I had written that book, it's okay, I'm going to set aside time each day to write.
Break those big dreams down into smaller steps.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And when you focus on those smaller steps, you actually start to feel a sense of progress, and that can really fuel your motivation,
Okay, that makes sense. But what about those times when you just feel stuck?
Yeah.
Or discouraged? Like, how do you keep that momentum going when the self-doubt creeps in?
That's where self-compassion is so important. Osei-Manu reminds us we're human, we make mistakes, we have doubts, and that's okay.
It's like giving yourself permission to not be perfect.
Yeah, exactly. And that's part of building resilience, right? Realizing that setbacks don't define you.
They're just part of the journey. And I think that's really what he's getting at, right? The journey is just as important as the destination.
Absolutely. Fulfillment comes from embracing the whole process, the ups and the downs.
Not just reaching that end goal.
Right. And I think that's one of the most powerful things we can take away from this conversation. Living without regrets. It's not about avoiding mistakes or striving for perfection. It's about embracing the whole experience, learning from our missteps, celebrating the wins, and finding joy in the present moment, even as we're working towards our future.
That's beautifully said. It's that sweet spot between ambition and contentment.
Exactly. And Osei-Manu gives us a roadmap for how to navigate that. We have the power to choose how we respond to challenges, to reframe our thinking, to be kind to ourselves.
And create a life that's truly fulfilling and full of meaning.
And maybe, just maybe, by embracing those things, we can let go of those past regrets and really step into a future that's full of possibility.
I love that. So what do you think? What resonated with you most from all this?
That's a great question. I think for me, it's the reminder that we have a choice. We can choose to dwell on the past, or we can choose to focus on what we can do differently today.
Exactly. And it doesn't have to be huge changes. What's one small step you can take to turn those I wish statements into I am statements?
I think for me, it's about setting aside time for writing every day, even if it's just for 15 minutes. That's something I've been putting off for far too long.
I love it. And for everyone listening, remember, even the smallest actions can make a difference. So keep diving deep, keep exploring, and keep embracing this incredible journey of life. We'll see you next time for another deep dive.